Another common operation is to sum all the different items in an array. This will form a basic pattern that we'll use quite a bit later on in the class. If we've got an array, in this case we've got a simple array called myArray of several different numbers, and we want to add each item to the list, there's only a few parts to doing that. First, create an initial total. This variable right here, this will be our step 1, and this initial total we set to 0. As we go through the different array, we'll add 5, 76, 8, and so forth, so that each item in the array is added to array total. But to begin with, we don't have anything. Step number 2, we need to loop through each item in the array. In this case, I am using a for loop with an index. In a bit here, I'll go through the other type of for loop, which is a little bit simpler. I've got an I, which will start at 0, and it'll go all the way up to the length of the array, which I'm fetching the length of the array right here. Step number 3 is to add each item of the array. This I will at first be 0, and then 1 and 2, and it'll fetch each individual item out of my array and stuff it into array total. Let's see this in action. In order to run this program and step through it, I'm using the Wing IDE. To start with, we go ahead and we create our array. I can see my array has been created down here. I've got each of the individual items. Go ahead and move this up a bit. Step past this and array total has been created down here. Now I'm going to start the for loop. And with this for loop, I have array total is currently 0. My array points to the entire number array that we had, and I right here is 0. My array at location I is 5. So what we're going to have is 0 plus 5 added to the screen, and the total of that will be 5, which will go in as a new value for array total. So we can see here array total is now set to 5. Stepping again, I will be set to 1. Array total is equal to 5 right now. I can see that here. So I'm going to have 5 plus my array at spot I. Spot I is 1, which is right here. And that element is 76. So I'm going to have 5, plus 76, giving me a total of 81, and that 81 will get stored into array total. I can see my 81 is now in array total. I've got 81, the original value here, plus my array at I. I is 2, array index 2 holds an 8, so I've got 81 plus 8. I'm going to get a total of 89, which will be stored into array total. This will just continue on until I go through elements 3, 4, all the way up to element 8 out of a total of our 9 element array. As I step through this program, you can see array total down there at the bottom goes from 94, 97, and I is increasing up from 7, and our last element, 8, we add on my array I of 23 for a total of 184. I come up here to the beginning of the for loop. I'm going to see that I'm done with each element of the for loop. And I'm going to come down to the print array total. Array total right now is 184. I'll print out 184 and I'm done with the program. Another way of writing the same thing is to use the for each version of the for loop, in which case I take my array right here that I created up here, and I have a new variable called item. It's going to take each element out of my array and in turn put it inside of item. I don't need to worry about an array index, and this makes my summing loop a little bit simpler than the prior example. First time through the loop, item is going to equal 5. Next time, it'll equal 76, and then 8, and so forth, each time adding it to the array total and printing it out. Let's go ahead and see this in action. We're creating my array. I can see my array has been created. I've now got array total, and I'm going to set array total equal to 0. So array total has been set to 0. My array has been created. Here is array total, and this is my array. We are no longer using I, so I'm going to get rid of this and add an expression, item. So I can see each of the individual items that are coming from my array and going into the variable called item. As I step past the for loop here, I can see that item is equal to 5, which is the first item in that list. Array total is equal to 0. So I'm going to have 0 plus 5, and that result of 5 is going to go into array total. Very similar to the last loop, but without the array index variable. Stepping again, I come back up to the for loop. You'll note down here at the bottom, this will change and it'll pull the next item in the list. The 76 will go into the variable item. And there, the 76 is in for the variable item. I now have array total, which is going to equal 5. I can see that here. And I've got the new item, which is going to equal 76. Those two will be added together to give me my 81. As we continue to step through the program, you can watch array total go up and item go through each of the individual items that are in the array. Once we're done, array total is equal to 184, and this will go ahead and print out our final result. This new set of code that I've copied up here will actually change the value of the array. I've gone back to using an index for the array right here and using the whole range bit. This will allow me to actually change the original array. I can't do it with the other loop, which I'll show here in a bit, because the other loop works with a copy. Now with this program, once I start it, I set the array just like before. I start the for loop, again, just like before. But now, instead of keeping a running total, what I'm going to do with my array, which I'll expand out here so you can see it, I'm going to take my array at 0, because I right now is 0. So I'm going to take my array of 0 and set it equal to my array of 0 times 2. So this will be 5 times 2 is 10, and it will double the value that's inside of this location when I pass this line. And now you can see that's been changed. Next time through, I is going to go to number 1, and we'll work with the 76 line right here. So now you can see the 76 has doubled to 152. So watch as we continue iterating through this array. 8 goes to 16, the 5 goes to 10. Both of those 3's are going to go to 6. And our 56 is going to go to 112. We go to 10, and finally we take that 23 and we move it up to 46. We have successfully modified each individual item in that array and doubled it. This code that we have right here is using the other type of for loop, and the programmer is attempting to double each item in the loop, but it won't work. Let's take a look at why. As I step through the code, I've created my array. We'll go ahead and expand that out. And then with the for loop, I'm going to take each item in my array and put it into the variable item. I can see I've taken that 5 and I've stuffed it into item right here. I'm now going to take item and double it. You can see I've doubled item. 5 has gone to 10, but item is a copy of the original array. This 5 right here has stayed the same. So what I'm doing when I go through this for loop is to double each copy of the item, but leave the original array unchanged. That's not what we want, so it is important to keep in mind how to work the other for loop with the index if you want to modify the actual array values. If you don't need to modify the array values, then you can use this type of for each loop, which simplifies and makes your program easier to read, but it doesn't allow you to modify the original array.